Welcome to another episode of the Chicks on the Right podcast, where we talk to our friend and sponsor of the show, Zach Abraham from Bulwark Capital Management, about things that are happening in the economy and in the world of finance. And in a recent interview, there is this guy named Stephen Moran. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right, but he is the Federal Reserve Governor, which is a position I knew about effective today.
I was today years old. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Did not know that was a thing. But anyway, he was in this interview where he was talking about the plans to mass deport all of these illegals that Joe Biden brought in. And he kind of said, listen, people, things could look a little sketch in the data, in the economic data with respect to GDP, job losses, or other bad, like negative news. However, the long-term outlook, if we do these mass deportations, is really, really good because it's disinflationary, because it's going to, there's going to be less crime, there's going to be reduced traffic, there's going to be less spending on illegal stuff and like more potential housing. So do you agree with that? And like, how quickly might we see improvement?
Interesting thing. And actually, if you guys wanted to have Steve onto your show, I could probably line that up. I know him.
Did I say his name right?
Steve Moran,
Steve
Moran.
Moran. Yeah. And
like
I actually had him on our show twice.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. This is probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. So I remember DMing him when Trump brought him up to be in the position. I was like, Steve, congrats, man. You got drafted to the big leagues. So the first thing I'll say about him is, from what I know of him, and I don't know him personally, but I've spent probably 3 hours talking to the guy. I think he's really smart. I think that the thing I love about him is he's a Harvard educated economist, PhD in economist, but he's also managed money. He's run a hedge fund. And that is, I know there are people out there who'd be like, oh, well, then I don't trust him. That's horrible. No, there are two worlds of finance. There are the worlds of finance that exist in Harvard classrooms that PhD economists talk about. And then there's where rubber meets the road and practitioners in financial industries. It just works so much differently than the way they lay it out in textbooks, right? And so one of the biggest issues that we've had in this country is we've had no diversity of thought. You go look at the Fed board, it's all PhD economists that have never actually done anything, right? And so, and that's one of the reasons their policy decisions have been such a joke. For 15 years. But what Steve is talking about to me is one of those things that is irrefutable, meaning if population growth, regardless of whether it comes from birth or immigration, is a big driver of inflation, right? Like for instance, under Sleepy Joe's watch, what'd you have? 20 million illegals coming to the country, right?
Yep.
Like if you think about it, what would you need to house those, people, like maybe 3 to 4.5 million homes? You can get 20 million people moving into the country a lot quicker than you can make 3.5 to 4 million homes and make them in a way that is financially feasible, right? So when you stop that influx, yes, you will take some pressure off the inflationary side. And to me, we were talking about this off camera. To me, that is just low hanging fruit. Like I laugh, I belly laugh every time I hear somebody on the left freaking out about, oh, they're trying to gerrymander, they're trying to tip the election. I'm like, what do you call 20 million illegals flowing into the country?
Right.
Exactly.
And the other thing is anytime I hear one party or the other accuse either of gerrymandering, it's ridiculous because whoever is in control of that house, right, in that state, they all do it every time. That's one of the consequences of elections, right? They redraw the lines, they redistrict. So, and then also, if you're saying they're redistricting, what do you call 20 million illegals flooding into the country, right? So
that's right.
The other thing that I get, and this is a little bit off course here, but the other thing I get really frustrated by is, oh, Trump's illegally doing it. And I'm like, hey, look, okay, you are so flippantly throwing that out there. The executive branch via the Constitution has pretty wide power when it comes to enforcing existing laws, right? That's a primary function of the executive branch. So when you've got a president and administration that is absolutely flouting federal immigration law, right? literally breaking their constitutional order in terms of enforcing federal law, then when you look at constitutional precedent, whoever the next executive was, it grants some pretty wide powers to to make that right.
To right the wrong. Yeah.
To right the wrong. And when you have a wrong of that magnitude, there's going to be parts of the cleanup process that are not that palatable, right? And it's do you blame the cleanup crew, or do you blame the guy that crashed the oil tanker on the bank? You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's like people getting mad at Doge for uncovering fraud. They were like, let's kill all these messengers instead of being mad that it was happening to begin with.
Yeah. The party's always more fun than the cleanup.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And the unfortunate thing about it is when you look, I am not a constitutional lawyer, so I'm not going to sit here and say I know for certain that every single thing they've done is okay. Oh, so you're admitting they're a criminal? What do you call 20 million people coming over the border? Yes. And so, in an effort to clean up, we might overstep. But why are we not focused on that? How is that not seen as a bigger issue, right? Just open the borders, come one, come all.
Do you think that do you think in the next, once they start getting, because a lot of people have already self-deported, right? We've seen a lot of people leave willingly.
Not enough though, right?
Not enough. You're right. Not enough. And once they start getting these people to leave and say, because we've got 3 more years left, a little bit less than 3 years. But at the end of 3 more years, say he's successful in getting a lot of these people out of, just hypothetically, he gets rid of a lot of these illegals out of our country. Will we see in the next 5 to 10 years positive financial ramifications of that? Or will it be what liberals say is that's bad because they add so much of the economy? And this is what they always fearmonger and say that. But they're the backbone of our economy. Are they?
I mean, they're legalized drug dealers, right? I mean, there's all kinds. I mean, if the goal is simply GDP go up, there's a lot of ways we can do that, right? And so we could also generate a lot of tax revenue off that, right? So let's legalize crack cocaine and meth, if that's the goal. So, and this is the problem, right? Especially when you go on the left. There's just a dearth of economic knowledge. It's like Elizabeth Warren put out a tweet over the weekend. I could not stop laughing over it. And I had to retweet it and dunk on her because she's like, you look at what RFK is doing and they're going to go after, no one's going to make any vaccines. And you're like, oh my God. Okay.
Right.
So I go, and so my tweet was something along the lines of like, hey, Miss Warren, I'd like to let you know something. As long as there is a market for vaccines, there will be vaccines. It's like magic, except it's called capitalism, right? So it's just it's so dumb. And you sit there and you listen to these people say that. And if people just had, again, because she makes an idiotic statement like that, does not mean that everybody with an R next to their name is brilliant, right? But what we should do is we need to start looking at these people and judging them by their merits rather than seeing them through a partisan lens. You know what I mean? It's infuriating. And you just go, hey, guys, here's the deal. You can think that sounds really great. If you want to pursue those practices, it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a disaster. So, you just have to have people that have a baseline, knowledge of economics and finance. Yeah. And we've got a bunch of idiots running the
and it's such common sense. You have all these people who are living off the taxpayer dole. It's like a lot of people coming into my house, draining my resources. If those people left, I would be living high on the hog. It's kind of like,
right.
I mean, listen, this is a terrible comparison. It really is. It's terrible. But it's kind of like, you're my financial advisor, Zach. And so one of the things that we've talked about is like when my kids go and they flee the house. Okay. And when all of my kids are out of the house, my expenses will go down. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not to say that my kids are leeches. I love all my children. I do. But children are an expense, right? I mean, they are. Everybody knows that.
They're a little leechy.
Right. A little, because sometimes they can be a little, just maybe a little bit. Teenagers especially, right? A little bit. Okay. Well, when children are out of your home, your expenses tend to go down. I mean, this is just common freaking sense, okay? Mm-hmm. But these are people that I love and I willingly want in my house. Mm-hmm. I love them. I wanted them. I want them here. If illegals coming into my country, I didn't ask for them. I didn't ask to pay for them.
And you're still having to cover all their expenses. They're slowing down your kids' education for just translation reasons. Like all of these things impact everybody. And why isn't everybody mad?
Right. Yeah. They're actually taking places in my kids' educational, like they're taking the place of kids' places, American kids' places in education. So it's so infuriating. It's like they can't see it.
No. And look, this is going to sound a little bit conspiratorial. Okay. But I'm going to say this because honestly, I'm not sure that this is what's going on. I do know that when I look at what is going on, especially as it relates to immigration policy in this country, as well as the rest of the world. And if I look at the people that are driving that, I cannot see any other reason for what is going on unless you go to a website called, I believe it's opensociety.org, right? George Soros's organization. Mm-hmm. And when you look at what a free and open society is by his definition, and then you look at what's being done, right? Like when you look at, what is it? I think the UK now I don't care about the racial aspect, but I think it's a pretty good gauge to tell you how quickly things are changing. And what is it like? I think only 65% of UK residents are now white, right?
Isn't that crazy?
You're right. The color doesn't. But why this is important is immigration is a wonderful thing when done in the right amounts and measures. It's like mixing a drink, right? You can't mix in too much too quick because the goal is to get those immigrants to assimilate to your culture.
Right. And that is not happening.
No. It's not, the assimilation is not happening.
No, and I think that is on purpose. I think that they are trying to erode individual state sovereignty in favor of a government that is much more globally centered, right? And people go, oh, you're correct. And I'm like, look, if you have another explanation for what's going on, I'm all ears because I would like to believe that there was a more rational, sensible approach behind this. But it just isn't. And the scary part about, we're going to be one. I literally heard a guy say this that was we're going to be one world. We won't have any more battles. We won't have any more wars because we're all going to be one group of people. And you're like,
oh my God.
No, what you're going to have is you're going to have a monolith, right? That is the government now. And any government that you cannot opt out of is by definition authoritarian.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not, you're not being conspiratorial at all. It's not, it's absolutely happening. We're watching it happen.
You're like sounding the alarm that needs to be sounded.
Yeah. And that's right. And more importantly, like I said, I would love to hear, I don't want to, you've still got those people out there that are going, oh, despite what everybody says, it's the greatest time to be alive. I understand those arguments. Okay. But you got some things on the horizon that could make it not the greatest time to be alive, right? At the very least. And it doesn't pass the smell test, right? It's Occam's razor. What is the most likely explanation? You're sitting around going, this looks like people want to erode our state sovereignty.
Yep.
How would they behave if they wanted to do that? You know what I mean?
It's exactly that way.
Yep.
Right. You're right. It's the simplest answer. And
in white dominated cultures, right, that are predominantly white, you're going to talk about the evil of the white man. You're going to talk about whiteness and how, bad that is and push that down. And it's really unfortunate because I think that having different sovereignties, it has a cost. You're going to have some wars and some conflicts. It shocks me that people think the alternative is less scary. Right. Where a government you can't escape from, and
this is the kind of stuff that like makes me feel a little bit glad that we're like on the later half of our lives. You know what I mean?
I know, but we have kids.
I do. I worry about kids, but like at the same time, I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is all, I don't know. That's the pessimism in me coming out because I'm like, I don't.
She's like, I'm gonna be around.
And I don't know if I want to be because this is all getting real scary.
It's getting crazy.
I'm really trying to take this step. I'm in the process of taking this step with our kids where we miss a couple here and there, but me and my boys try to do a Bible study together once a week. And then my wife does it with our daughter. And then on top of that, put my boys on they're athletes and play football and stuff, but putting them on a workout plan, getting them up early in the morning, teaching them how to work out, how to grind, all these kinds of things. There was a guy that made a quote one time that, and I'm forgetting who it was, but he said, people are constantly saying, why would you bring children into the world as it is right now?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, that's the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard. That's like asking, why would you be birthing dragon killers in the era of dragons? Right. And so
agree.
I kind of look at it. Am I afraid for them? Yeah. But what else? What other choice do we have other than just to attack them? Right. And just sit there and go, you got to be stronger. You've got different standards that you need to adhere to. We're going to make dragon killers. And
that's right.
I don't really know.
And you're teaching them young. I mean, and that's always so good, teaching them young. And you teach young and old people alike when it comes to how to manage their finances.
It's just, there it is.
And so how might people find out more about that?
Yes. Easiest way to do it, bulwarkcapitalmanagement.com. Search Know Your Risk podcast. Catch our Daily Dots episode that's about 30 minutes a day that goes over everything finance and politics, the convergence. And Google Know Your Risk Radio, Know Your Risk podcast, bulwarkcapitalmanagement.com. Not hard to find.
Love it.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, ladies.
Zach.
Investment advisory services offered through Trek Financial LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. Any references to performance of securities are thought to be materially accurate, and actual performance may differ. Investments involve risk and are not guaranteed. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Trek 24308.